Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Military Spouse to Millionaire. Today, we are going to be talking about buying a home sight unseen, meaning you're in contract for, or sometimes even closed, and officially own your home before you even arrive on island. But is buying sight unseen a good idea? How often is it done? These are really common questions that I get asked. And I think if you were to have taken a poll on this topic even, a decade ago, the answer would have been very different than the reality that we have nowadays. And in part, that is due and thanks to COVID, just like so many things in life. COVID really did change the landscape of the market and what's normal and what's common. So I would say I do probably between 80 and 100 transactions a year. And currently, I would estimate that about a fourth of those transactions, my clients are buying sight unseen. The reason for this can vary from person to person. It can be things like not wanting to stay in a hotel longer than necessary because maybe you have a pet that needs a yard, or maybe you have kids and you want to be able to get your kids enrolled in school ASAP, but you need an address so you know where you're living to enroll them in school. Some people don't find the idea of staying in a hotel for 30 to 45 days really that appealing. So they'll get into contract for something much sooner and then can move into their home sooner. Some people just find the right house days or weeks before they get here and don't want to risk missing the opportunity to purchase the home. So my clients getting into contract before they get here is a very popular occurrence. And while common, I want to be very clear that it is not my preference because I feel better about getting into contract knowing that my clients have seen the home in person. They've walked through the door. They've smelled the smells. They've seen the sights. But I don't see this trend changing anytime soon. So over the years, I have made sure that me and my team absolutely crush the remote house hunting process. So let's talk about that. Part of why my clients are so comfortable offering on something before they arrive, in part, in my opinion, is a byproduct of what I call the finding home method. It's kind of a coined term that I've started using to describe the process, the start to finish process that I take my clients through. In speaking with service members and families, I start talking to people weeks, sometimes months and months before they get here. And this allows me to not only get to know them, their family dynamic, their wants, their needs, but also allows me to set them up in the MLS to start accurately looking at homes online that are in budget, answering their questions, managing their expectations along the way. And doing this, I think, allows them as consumers, you guys as consumers, to get an early education and a better idea when it comes to really anything like the market, your personal preferences. I get to give constant reminders that this is not the forever home. Homes are smaller here, homes are older here. Just the amount of expectation management that I get to do really is a game changer. That being said, another absolutely huge part of the process is the fact that we do the most when it comes to the video tours. I mean, I and my team, when we go to do a video tour, we are getting into bathtubs. We are zooming in, making a video, telling you, hey, the grout in this bathtub has a little bit of surface mold, or looks like it needs to be redone, or this was a DIY project that looks great in photos, but not so great in person. In addition to all of that, in addition to really like getting in and looking at the home in intimate detail, of course, you want to know what your new future neighborhood would look like. Where are the closest schools? Where is the closest grocery store, Starbucks? So we're going to get video footage of the neighborhood, of where your closest Walgreens is, where's the closest Safeway, what's around your new possible future home. So it's not just the property, it's not just the home in a very detailed, I'm going to tell you if it smells like pet in there. I'm going to tell you if, this doesn't look right. So while buying this way is not everyone's cup of tea, I do think it's important to know, just like lots of stuff with home ownership, that being open-minded to house hunting in this way isn't maybe as scary as it seems. And it's certainly not as scary as it once was before we had the advantage of all of this technology. So in my opinion, it's not super crazy. It just comes down to education and just knowing that even if you were to get into contract for a home, you still have lots of exit ramps. So an exit ramp is a time during a purchase contract where you as the buyer can back out and there's no penalty. So a few of the big ones are your home inspection. Now, I will mention that here in Hawaii, all homes are sold as is, which means unless something is hazard or safety related, the seller is telling us up front that they are not fixing cosmetic issues. And that is something that has been true the entire time I've lived here. I've been here 8 years, homes being sold as is, completely normal. That being said, if something comes up in the inspection, even if it is cosmetic or you don't feel comfortable, you are still able to back out of the contract, get a full refund of your earnest money, and we simply go find you a different house. Other times, other exit ramps that you have as a buyer, and these apply to any transaction, whether you're buying it traditional and you're here on island or sight unseen. Other times that you can back out are reviewing and accepting the association document. So basically, as an example, if there's a rule in the association, like my neighborhood as an example, we're not allowed to have farm animals. So if I were to have chickens and I was not willing to get rid of my chickens, then I could say, hey, I don't agree to abide by these rules. I must have my chickens. I could back out of the contract, get a full refund of my earnest money. There's no penalty, and find a different house. Another big exit ramp is the appraisal. Once we're in contract for a home, Clayton, as your lender, is going to immediately order your VA appraisal. He does that in the VA system, and it gets assigned at random to a VA appraiser. So if that appraiser goes out to the property you're buying and it doesn't appraise for the amount we are in contract for, it is up to the seller to reduce the price of the home to match the appraised amount. If they refuse to do so, if they take a hard line stance on that and they say, no, I'm not going to do that, you are not going to pay over appraised value for a home, and I'm going to tell you to back out and we will find you a different property, and there's no penalty. Now, these are not all of the exit ramps because I could make a whole nother podcast about that. But those are the big ones. And I just wanted to highlight that while obviously offering on a home, getting in contract for a home is a big deal and not something that should be done lightly. Most times, though, people think that taking those steps like concretely locks them in to buying this house. And again, just for the sake of information and education, I do think that there's some value in you knowing that while it's a big step, while it's an important thing, you do have options to back out with no penalty. So I think that buyers definitely should entertain this if a situation should arise that makes it, a possibility. Or like I said earlier, if something comes on the market and you're maybe, say you're 7 days away from arriving on island and you find the perfect house and you call me and we go make a video tour and you're like, shit, it really looks great. You could offer on that house and we could do a 10-day home inspection timeline, which means you would get here and still have 3 days to see the home in person, make sure everything looks good, feels good. You have, no butterflies, no red flags, no nothing. And if you did get here and any of those things didn't happen, if you didn't feel at ease, you could still back out and there's no penalty. So that's a big one. Again, very situational, very not one size fits all, but I don't think that there necessarily needs to be an overabundance of fear or concern about this because there are ways to align the timelines, align the exit ramps to give you protections so that you could be in contract for something before you get here, but still have some of those exit ramps to take in case you get here and things are not feeling great for you. Because at the end of the day, that is obviously my top number one focus, priority, goal is for you to feel comfortable with the home that you're purchasing and the process that I'm taking you through, and building that relationship and that trust sometimes means going to do a video tour and trusting, that we're doing a good job for you guys. Thankfully, knock on wood, I'm quite literally filming this podcast and going to meet a family that just landed. It is noon, 12:10 as I'm filming this. They landed at 11:30 and I'm meeting them at like 2:00 to give them their keys. They're coming from the airport. So they literally own the house already and are seeing it for the first time. So I'll be sure to get some content and footage of that for you guys. But let me know if you have questions on this topic. Let me know if I didn't cover a question or concern that you have about this process. Otherwise, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for all of you. Bye, guys.